Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to this C2GLearn webinar. Today's webinar is on large-scale carbon dioxide removal and the Sustainable Development Goals. My name is Alia Hassan. I'm Outreach Officer of the Carnegie Climate Governance Initiative, known as C2G. And C2G is a small foundation-funded initiative. Our mission is to catalyze the creation of effective governance for climate-altering technologies like carbon dioxide removal and solar radiation modification. C2G is impartial on the use or non-use of these technologies. We leave it up to society to decide. Part of our strategy is to encourage learning through events and conversations like the one that will take place today. So today's webinar is part of a broad learning and discussion program that we call C2GLearn, that we've put together with the support of more than 50 international experts from different cultural, scientific, and technical backgrounds. The objective of today's webinar is to look at carbon dioxide removal approaches and explore their possible implications for the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals, and to understand the governance challenges and gaps in this context. To do so, I'm pleased to introduce our three panelists for this session. Thelma Krug is Vice Chair of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, for the sixth cycle of panel after having been co-chair of the IPCC Task Force on National Greenhouse Gas Inventories. For more than 15 years, she represented Brazil in the negotiations at the UNFCCC, with particular focus on issues related to land use change in forestry, research and systematic observations, and reporting guidelines. Matthias Honegger is a research associate with the Institute for Advanced Sustainability Studies, climate policy consultant with Perspective Climate Research, and PhD candidate at Utrecht University. He's worked on sectoral mitigation policies, national mitigation targets, UNFCCC negotiations, and emerging governance of geoengineering. Among different reports and articles, Matthias carried out a first assessment of the potential effects that deployment of climate-altering technologies could have on the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. You can find this publication on our website. And Dr. David Morrow is the Director of Research at the Institute for Carbon Removal Law and Policy at the American University in Washington, D.C., as well as a research fellow at George Mason University's Institute for Philosophy and Public Policy. His research focuses on normative issues in climate policy, including the ethics and governance of carbon removal. He leads the Institute's work on developing tools to assess the sustainability of various approaches to carbon removal. His most recent book, Values in Climate Policy, came out in 2019. Welcome to all three of you. We're very happy that you are joining us today for an interesting conversation around carbon dioxide removal and sustainable development goals. Just a few words on the mechanics of the event before we get started. We will be playing a pre-recorded presentation of our speakers' presentations, and then we'll move on to a Q&A session. So if you have questions that arise while you're watching the presentations, please use the Q&A box to formulate these questions. We will be addressing them in the second half of this session. You can also vote for questions. We will do our best to address all the questions, as many questions as possible, but we'll give priority to those questions that receive more votes. So we are ready to play the recording, and we will see you again in a few minutes for the Q&A session.